Good evening. I call to order October 1st, 2025 Civil Rights Board meeting to order at 5 p.m. Director Hewitt-Smith, can we have a roll call?
Yes, you can. Thank you, Chair Faison. Chairperson Faison.
Present.
Director DeBauer.
Present.
Director Sipling.
Present.
Director Calderon.
Present.
Director Doyle.
Excused.
Director Burpee.
Excused.
Vice Chair Lukeman.
Present.
And Commissioner Hoffman.
Present.
Thank you.
Thank you, Director Hewitt-Smith. At this time, can I get a motion to adopt today's agenda?
Motion to adopt today, October 1st agenda.
Is there a second?
Second.
It has been a motion by Vice Chair Lukeman and second by Director DeBoer. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Opposed? Any discussion? Abstentions? Today's agenda for October 1st, 2025 has been adopted. Okay, I do apologize. I will add that there will be a correction. Nope, okay, that is going to be for the minutes. So I'll entertain a motion to adopt the minutes from August 6, 2025.
I make a motion to adopt the minutes from said date.
Thank you. It's been moved by Director Sipling. Is there a second?
Was there a correction to the minutes that was necessary?
Yes. That on the discussion.
So I'll second.
Okay. And any discussion? We will have changes. I did see a misspelling in Director DeBoer's name is Joshua, but it's on there AU.
There's also on the back page, it just says Directors Boer. So there's another correction there.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Any abstentions? The minutes for August 6, 2025 have been adopted. At this time, do we have any public announcements? Nothing, Law? Okay. So we will move to our first item for discussion, and that will be Education Subcommittee updates and discussion around appointment.
I will provide an update from the Educational Subcommittee. We have had 3 meetings thus far. We've been meeting on a bi-weekly cadence. Our first meeting, we took the opportunity to discuss the goals of the Educational Subcommittee, come together and discuss who in the community that we'd like to draw into this subcommittee as well. Once we established that goal, we set our cadence meeting rate and when we were going to meet. We meet on Mondays bi-weekly. Our second meeting, we came together and very briefly discussed a meeting agenda because there were few members of the subcommittee that could join for that meeting. Thankfully, on our third meeting, we were able to pull together a list of community members from the subcommittee board members, and we have extended invitations out to a variety of community organizations, landlords, as well as directors of other community agencies that the subcommittee chose to be fit. Wonderfully enough, we have our fourth meeting on Monday, which will then partake with those community members that have been invited. So ultimately, we're looking forward to now having some community participation after we were able to get ourselves established on what we were doing with the subcommittee. The question being, what are we doing with the subcommittee? So the intention is that we are going to put together a flyer, for a better word. So making like a threefold brochure that can be placed at the city, landlords, community housing agencies, schools, other agencies that are involved in housing as well as employment. So creating flyers, once we are able to create marketing material, then the intention is to then be able to spread that marketing material out into the community. And I think after we have that material, at that point in time, we will engage community in event creation as well. I would love, if the board has any further recommendations or input on what I have, said that educational subcommittee has put together thus far. Would love to hear any other additional input or answer questions maybe about what we're doing.
Yeah, I think in some of the subcommittee meetings with the ordinance review, some of this has come up too about the education part, about educating the community and filling out the complaint forms. So just knowing that that is something that's available for people, and figuring out how to get more people to fill out those complaints if they are there, right? I mean, we hear that there are civil rights complaints, but people aren't filling out the form, so it's a matter of, do people know that that form exists? What are the expectations, right? And kind of aligning the expectations about what can be done and where we are in kind of a stepping stone area. And Willow, I don't know if you want to add on to any of that.
I think our concern, the form is being adjusted, which I'm sure we'll talk about in our update, but having the form be used for things that are within our scope of service was kind of our primary concern. And so I think we've discussed how we might be able to partner with the educational subcommittee, so that way we can ensure that people know about all of the things that we offer, but can then make use of that form in a way that fits with what we have the ability to do.
So I'm going to lift up two. I believe this is going to be also leaning a lot towards the event side, the community engagement, because sometimes people don't take the time also to look at the brochures and stuff. So I do want to make sure we are very intentional on having events that will educate the community and lift up everything that we want them to be aware of, so that they can start utilizing the Civil Rights Board.
Thanks. This is Director Calderon West. So I had given some names of community members. Thank you for sending out those invitations. I was very intentional to make sure that these community members were also tied in with organizations that are already, or that have locations where I don't know if it's a possibility once these folks become educated, more educated specifically around what we do, what the form is going to look like, what complaints are within our scope, that maybe they might be made available at those locations. Just to be transparent, that those were individuals from El Concilio, Isaac, Outfront Kalamazoo, as well as the Disability Network of Southwest Michigan.
Another discussion that we had in our educational subcommittee meeting was around providing education of the ordinance to the board members as well, because it's, it's robust, and I think that it's also important that the board, as well as the participants in this educational subcommittee, are educated on what the ordinance says, what it means, what the intentions are behind it. So the subcommittee has made a request to the city attorney's office to prepare some type of training that we can participate in order to make sure that we are educating, factually as well.
Yeah, I think one of the other things that we discussed too was figuring out what educational things are already happening within the city and how can we piggyback off of that. So for example, one of the things we just briefly discussed was kind of partnering with other city departments, right, seeing what they do, like I guess KDPS does bias training, right? So what does that look like? It's a program that already exists. What type of training does the Housing Commission do in regard to landlords and fair housing, right? And what training do city employees already receive, and how can we piggyback, right? We don't necessarily have to recreate everything, and it sounds like that's the direction we're going in. So it's just kind of looking at what's already there and kind of making that information more accessible, I think, is the other part. So it'd be good to keep that in mind, I think, just to make things accessible on the website too, easy to find.
Thank you. Is there any more discussion? Well, the next meeting will be, is it October 6th?
Yes, it is October 6th.
At 1 p.m. So the community members who have been invited should have received an email. I'm hoping that people are watching, that if you didn't receive it, or if it's something you would like to partake in, because you may have an organization that could benefit from being part of it, as well as displaying the information once it's created, then you can be able to contact one of us in regards to that as well. So with the education subcommittee, we did have Director Calderon as part of it. We have that on discussion because she did resign from the education subcommittee. I did attend the last meeting, but I did want to ask again and open it up to see, are you sure that it is something that you want to stay away from at this time?
So my concern was just being able to make the times of the meetings scheduled, and, want to be consistent, want to be able to show up, and the times were not, the times of the meetings that we had were not fitting into my schedule at the time. So I would rather not commit and be available wherever needed. As we're talking, I'm like, oh dang, I can make that one, and I have a new name for you. So I mean, I'm still very much willing to support that committee. I just don't want to, I guess I don't want to commit to something that I might not be able to do, quite frankly.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. Was there any type of leniency around moving the time to help accommodate schedule? Because I know we did it for the ordinance review, if that would be helpful.
So that would be helpful, and if the committee was willing to take a look at that, then that's a discussion I could have with them.
Okay, because for me, to have this discussion, Director Doyle is not on the subcommittee. So I wanted to extend that offer to her before I just stayed in the educational subcommittee. But if you are willing to stay on, then we can visit this conversation next month if things don't work out as far as being able to find the time.
Yeah, that's something I could connect directly with you, Madison, about, or with other members, maybe start that conversation so we can report back. I know that I can make this meeting, so yeah, so I can commit to being there for that meeting.
Yes, absolutely. That the meeting schedule can certainly change. I think as we do start to grow to more community involvement, I think we really need to stay consistent with whatever that time is. I'm very happy to hear you can make it on Monday. So if we could plan on that, and then we will take it offline, as they say, for maybe some other availability. Sure. Cool.
Okay, thank you, I appreciate it. I just want to make sure that we're trying to at least accommodate those that are part of the board. And I understand, like, when community, if they can come, they'll come. As we said, too, there'll probably be some that may come in only when needed, and so.
Yes, I will have one final comment on that is the intention around the start of this educational subcommittee is that we would like to pull in as many members as possible, but at some point we have to charge forward. So we're charging forward right now with this group, and then what we'd like to do is, if at some point a board member is able to drop off, we pull another board member in that has more, has event planning or has more connections to whatever type of event that we're planning and pulling up. We can be fluid with the community members and the board members as we charge forward with a path.
Okay, thank you. Any other discussion? Okay, we will be moving on to our next item, which is the ordinance review subcommittee update. Unfortunately, I was not able to make our last meeting. Would you be okay giving an update? Thank you.
This is Director Sibling, absolutely. Just to highlight a few things that we've been talking about and things that we've been working through. One thing that we are very excited about is updating some of the criteria on the actual form that's able to filter for folks who are within our area for complaints that meet the criteria of the Civil Rights Board. So we're hoping to begin that process for implementation. And that way, it's not as if we are not wanting to receive the complaints and things like that, but we want to ensure that we are receiving the relevant complaints to us. And so having a form online that asks about the location, if somebody is not in the Kalamazoo area, it directs them to the broad Michigan Civil Rights Board and other opportunities for them to be able to find options. A few things that we discussed in our meeting as well was what all we can do in terms of being more involved in the process. We've all, I think, expressed a desire to be involved on the front end of the investigatory process. We've explored some options there, but we also looked at the various types of tasks that a civil rights board can perform. One thing to celebrate is our board actually does most of what civil rights boards are capable of doing. A few options or a few things that are within the scope of civil rights board include basically all of what we offer, from the mediation process to the investigation process to bringing a legal complaint and so forth. So just one thing to celebrate for the commission that has been working on these types of things for a while, keeping us very relevant and up to date for what we can do. We talked about some other things that we might be able to do to support other parts of our city, and basing that on what some other boards might do. Obviously, these boards have different makeups and different things that they are allowed to do due to their size. But some interesting things that we did highlight, for instance, was in New York City, that their board can not only receive complaints, but they can initiate them as well. We noted that in Portland, their board directly collaborates with their police board on police-related complaints as well. So these are just some ideas of some various ways that we can, as many of us have expressed, have a greater desire to be involved in what our community is asking about and how we can support them. I think those are probably the main points that we discussed in our most recent meeting.
Thank you, Director Sibling, for that update. So I do know, did you have any updates?
Director Sipling, I think, summarized it very well.
Thank you, Director DeBoer. We are still just working diligently to make sure that the Civil Rights Board is engaged from the beginning, making the process easier, and the collaboration with the education side to make sure community is aware of how everything works, how it moves, making it as simple as possible, and just being able to really start moving some of these complaints in, or encouraging people first to get them in and being able to move them forward, and the Civil Rights Board being in the process from the beginning. Thank you, Commissioner Hoffman.
Thank you, Chair. I have a question about something that was said earlier around assistance with the application process, that we could offer that. One, where would one go and who would they contact to get that assistance? Is that on city staff? Is that, like, where would that happen with the application process if one needed assistance with filling it out?
My understanding is that is currently on city staff, so I know that LUL is available to help people fill that out. They can also call the 311 number of the city and get assistance that way as well.
Thank you. And I think the difference is because the makeup sometimes is different. I know Ann Arbor, actually, their complaints go directly to their board. And so that is one of the discussions we would have to have also, because I'm not sure what is the capacity of the work that the city staff has, what they are supposed to be doing, and if there is a way that it can also be directed to the Civil Rights Board to be able to take care of it. Maybe that is where we're saying creating that subcommittee to be there from the beginning.
That was my point in asking. We have a small but mighty team, and they are already doing a lot as a team of two. And so to put that additional responsibility on them, I think that's something that we should talk about, and then look at maybe the CMO's office to get some guidance, and maybe from the attorney's office as well.
Thank you for adding that. As well as I do believe the education side could also entail like the help with that. That's why I was saying the events, maybe creating some type of PowerPoint, just kind of making things a little simpler, but also to where some of it can be a little bit more self-sufficient for others and not having so much that is on other people's shoulders, or if so, it's on our shoulders.
I had asked a question about, what the educational subcommittee could request from the city to do, and there's a lot. So what our subcommittee needs to do is figure out what exactly we're looking for, and then city staff can put that together. So like what we've done is I've grabbed a couple different types of trifold flyers and a one-pager from different municipalities. So as examples of like what we might be looking for the city to produce to us. So I don't, at least as far as I'm concerned, I don't think our small but mighty subcommittee is going to be producing marketing material and those things. So I think that there is obviously a lot of support that we can receive. We just need to be able to provide examples or requests specifically what we're looking for.
I think the other thing on the form, the intake form, part of the changes that we tried to make and are pushing to the city is to say, how can we maybe weed out some of the ones that don't actually pertain, so that way the city staff aren't using their time on ones that don't actually apply. And I think Director Sipling worked on some of those, but really to say, right, is it inside or outside of the city? And not to discount people's alleged complaints, but to really say, are we the right spot for that complaint, and re-putting in, again, that question, say, is this an actual civil rights complaint that you're filing. If it's not, this isn't the place to file that, file it somewhere else. So that was, I think, the update with that is to make sure that the city staff isn't, using their time on those things that don't actually relate. And then we can focus on getting in those legitimate complaints so we can have some kind of documentation there to go, okay, what are the issues that are identified so we can come up with solutions to those. In my opinion, that is one of the larger priorities, to say, what are the documented issues, right? I know there's issues. It's trying to get that documented to say, okay, here's the actual complaints of the constituents. How can we solve that?
Thank you, Director DeBoer. And I think the only thing that I question is where will the other complaints go through? And maybe that may be a process of education too, because I also don't want the complaints that are not for the Civil Rights Board to get lost. Because you have those that, like you say, may need to go state. There's some that come in for KDPS. So I still want to make sure people's complaints are directed to where they need to go. Director Hewitt-Smith?
I wholly agree. I wholly agree with that. I think I'm a firm believer the baby has to crawl before it walks. So starting with even with the drop down of let's be able to determine that you're not in Kalamazoo County, because from experience we have received complaints from as far as Indiana that was not ours. I mean, nowhere near the scope of civil rights. So I think even if we just, I think everything is in layers and buildable. So if the subcommittee determines, as we stated earlier, what we don't want, because if a person is going in the wrong direction, we also are not streamlining their process, because it's sat in our box for so long, well, not really long, but it's sat in our box to where that's just one step. They could have been in that county of Indiana, opposed to not being a part of the city ordinance. So, like I said, we're here to support in any way, any examples, foundation. Yes, Madison did reach out to law that I'm aware of as far as like your publication. We have a close relationship with our communications team, so I don't foresee any problems when it comes to building that platform or building that mailer or brochure that you're trying to at least have a template for. So yeah, we're here to support you.
Thank you. Any other discussion? Okay. At this time, we will move to public comments. You will have 3 minutes. Please sign in your name and address. Thank you.
Hello, my name is Maggie Adams. And I want to start first of all by just, again, smiling that everybody's here, and I really loved the discussion and the movement that's happening. But I also had some reflection as I heard some words from, like Trustee Luckman, you said something like charging forward with who you had, and it made me feel a little nervous when I hear those kinds of words, because I feel like we're moving into that sense of urgency as opposed to, slowing down and doing our best to really address the inequities that we are here to assemble for in the first place. And the word of community engagement, I always ask myself when I'm, sitting in front of city council, who are you inviting and who are you leaving out? Because kind of what I heard is I actually heard people who might actually be impacted by this are being left out in the process of this idea of education. And I'm afraid that it would be like this talk-at session to folks, and I don't even know who these people are, because we've already said many times, these people don't show up because they've already been impacted by the system. So how are we gonna have them all of a sudden show up to a event? How do they know who they are? And a lot of times they know who they are, right? But they already feel marginalized and impacted by the inequities of the system. So I appreciate you said El Concilio, you said Isaac, I think out front, that's great. But it's similar to what we had with the city when they did their stakeholders meetings. They left out the stakeholders, the very people impacted. So I'm just asking to reflect on that. The people who are actually impacted, what education would they say they need, and how would that be delivered best for them? Thank you.
Thank you.
Evening to our chair, our co-chair, chair, our vice chair, our board members, director, commissioner, all of you. My name is Charlotte Davis with Isaac. Good to see you all. I want to always first say thank you all for your hard work. This is not easy work, so I want to lead with that. I want to say again, welcome to those who are newer to the Civil Rights Board. So happy to have you all. I always have to give a shout out to Vice Mayor Patrice Griffin, who got all this started with the housing brief that she wrote years back. She was a catalyst for this work. And I also want to lift just a little bit of the history. This ordinance, after Vice Mayor Patrice was a catalyst, came about in collaboration. So it's all been about collaboration. That was TRHT, that was Isaac, that was a fair housing, the city of Kalamazoo, and many more, MDCR as well. And so I just want to lift that because collaboration got this started, and collaboration is going to see us through to where we want to get. I want to ask, too, as we are talking about collaboration, and what stands out for me is the Education Committee, and I'm so happy, again, Isaac is so happy to help, and I was so happy to hear out front, and El Concilio, our family members as well, at both of those organizations. I want to lift that this is an opportunity to lean into, like Maggie said, that community lens. And so we, as a system, there's always usually this disconnect between systems and community. And this is a perfect opportunity to be able to bring systems and community members together for shared decision making. And so again, the charge forward comment, when I heard that, I understand that's a task-oriented mindset. I get it, but this is a time to really make sure that, and this is what I humbly ask of the Education Committee, times, the dates, that they're inclusive, that they are open. There shouldn't be anybody who wants to be on that committee who cannot attend because there are limited times and dates. And so when we're thinking about that, the times, the dates, the decision making, I would love for there to be a co-chair from our CRB and also a co-chair from the community members as well, so that there is shared decision making. Or what might happen is that in our mindset of moving forward, like Maggie said, we're going to be leaving community members out. Why? Because we want to press forward. No, we want to press forward with each and every person who wants to be a part of this work. We don't want to leave anybody behind. So again, thank you all for your hard work. We are here to support and to do this together.
Thank you. Any other comments? Do we have anyone on the phone, Lau?
We do not.
Thank you for all your comments. Appreciate the passion that is always expressed at the mic and the willingness to be engaged. At this time, we will have board comments.
This is Director Lukeman. I'd like to announce to the community that our educational subcommittee is meeting on Monday, October 6th at 1 p.m. If you're interested in joining, unfortunately, I can't offer any other board member seats due to quorum. But if you are a community member and would like to participate, please reach out to Lal. Recognizing that we can't reach everyone, but I can at least extend an invitation out. I'm more than happy to be flexible about meeting times, but it is also up to the members to join at those meeting times that are set. So if we have anybody that would like to be included, please let me know. I think that the phrase "charge forward" is ignited from me because of the community comment to try to press forward and do something. And I think that several of our board members previously have expressed, like, what are we doing here? I don't see us moving forward. What are we doing? I come to the board meetings and, I'm not sure that there is anything happening here. So my notation of charging forward is really to try to take action and do something versus be inexclusive. So I would leave it on that.
Thank you, Vice Chair Lukeman. Anyone else? Director Sipling.
I just wanted to sort of be mindful of so many helpful comments that we've been hearing. I remember in our last session, it was pointed out to us to remember to refer to the folks in our area as part of our community, not just citizens of Kalamazoo, but residents of Kalamazoo. And thinking through the language that we've discussed here, how do we not lose people in our desire to have an efficient process, and some of the comments that are also made tonight. So I just wanted to express my appreciation for the co-learning that is happening, and I appreciate all of our colleagues here for that contribution.
Thank you, Director Sipling. Okay, so first I will start off by saying, Vice Chair Lukeman did say you are able to contact Law, so I will provide her email, which is tluangil@kalamazoocity.org. So feel free to contact Law if you are interested in being part of the Education Subcommittee. I will also add, maybe as board members that are part of that subcommittee, the same way we look to see who might have been a good fit from an organization. I think so many people work with directly impacted people that maybe we can suggest someone to add that have lived experience. I also want to say thank you also once again for always coming to the mic, expressing, because I do have to agree, sometimes it does give a different scope, to be mindful, because sometimes, and I know from doing this and working on the ordinance review subcommittee, it seemed like we was doing so much and pushing so hard to get things done that sometimes you get a little frustrated and you're trying to move and get things done, and sometimes some things can slip. So it's good having that collaboration. It's good having other individuals who can kind of pull you by the coattail and say, wait a minute, maybe you should try this as well as always having that open mind. And so I do want to make sure community is engaged with how we're moving with the education, because they are the individuals who we need to make sure are educated on the process. In doing this work, I know everything doesn't work one way for everybody. So we have to be mindful to make sure we're reaching people on different levels in order to be able to get the complaints in. I also want to say, now that we do have a full board, everyone except one of our directors is on the subcommittee. So I would like to say thank you for all the work that everyone does as well. It's not a single person effort. We have to be a collaborative up here as well. And so thank you also to the city for all that you do. Director Hewitt-Smith.
I would also like to say I appreciate the conversation that we have had today, especially from our community members in the audience as well as the board of directors here. Dr. Davis did raise a great point as far as and I'm not running the education committee, however, but it was a great idea that she stated possibly having a co-chair. And you guys did list 3 of the pillars of the community. If they are able to find someone that actually can speak from experience, maybe that should be the individual that should be the co-chair. Because it's nothing like being able to, when you're making that decision or that's going to impact the community, of someone who has basically had that experience, have that voice. So that's just a suggestion for me.
Thank you. I do appreciate it. I always say those closest to the solution are those closest to the problem. I will leave that up to the educational subcommittee to have a discussion in regards to that. I won't be attending the next one since Director Calderon will be able to make it. But
This is Director Lukeman. I just had a question about co-chair in a subcommittee. Could this be, it does not have to be a board member, correct? It could be a community member that could co-chair as well. Okay, great. It's a new process for me, so.
okay, so I think I'm kind of questioning the co-chair side of it, because when I heard co-chair, I kind of heard as if the board has the subcommittee, and there's a co-chair as a community leader and a co-chair of a member. Is that what you were saying, to say those be the 2 co-chairs alongside with what is going on with the subcommittee?
So that's what I had pictured. There have been other initiatives that I've been part of where there's been a committee from outside of like the entity, the main entity, and then a community member to push the initiative, mostly due to reasons like this, which would be relativity or how close they are to the subject. So.
I would love the participation of a community member as a co-chair participant, and to help me, move things along as well, because I think, at least as far as, again, having lack of experience, if you will, in subcommittee, city board, and then being able to pull in another person to, again, I don't know, we don't like this word, but charge things along and help charge things along.
I think what I don't want us to do is get caught up on titles. And because it's a subcommittee, I think co-leaders is more palatable, because folks aren't getting paid. It's still a volunteer experience, and I want to ensure that we are not setting ourselves up for anything that could come back in a way that could be harmful. And so I also want to say, I know that the United Way has some community members that they've been working with that have lived experience, and I'm wondering if we could have a conversation and collaborate with them about who they already have that are doing the work that would be willing to serve as a co-lead with the subcommittee. So again, going back to, we don't have to recreate anything. We have people already who have been slated and have been doing the work, so why not lean on some of those when they're also being compensated too? So I think there's a way that we can collaborate with the United Way as well, with the COC, with the COC.
Thank you, I appreciate it. And I think this is a really good discussion as well for the next educational subcommittee, to kind of finalize and get things figured out. Was there any other comments? Okay, well, at this time, I will entertain a motion to dismiss.
I'll enter the motion to dismiss.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Is there, this meeting is adjourned at 5:45 PM.